My autistic brother fled from our toxic family, and now my mom wants to reconnect just because she's hoping for grandkids. For my brother Steve, 28, growing up was a nightmare. Steve is autistic and my mom embraced the full-on autism mom role. My brother was not even that bad. He was in all of the advanced classes, knew some crazy history crap and loved coding and building computers. My mom went to these autism mom support groups. She would get these stupid ideas Steve needed to be cured and put him on very weird meds. She threw away all of his books when he was a teen, because it was his obsession, and she said they'd keep him from being a teenager. My dad didn't say anything and thought Steve was a weirdo. So when Steve received his scholarship, he ran and never spoke to mom again. He actually cut off most of the family, including my grandma, who was worse than my mom, and she would bully Steve. I remember him as my cool big brother. So he reached out when I turned 18 and we've been close ever since. Steve got married in May. It was a small wedding, and I was the best man. My mom and grandma are clueless about Steve's life. Somehow, my mom heard about the wedding over Labor Day. Since then my mom has tried to get me to intervene with Steve or his wife to reconnect in case she gets grandbabies. Steve hates my mother, and has nightmares from her and grandma's crap during his childhood. So I don't want to trigger him and risk my relationship. I told mom about it, and she said it's not going to happen and Steve would never allow our mom around him, his wife, or future children. My mom asked if she was really that big of a monster and I said yes to Steve. She was, and he would never forgive her. I told mom she needs to view Steve as dead to her. My mom yelled at me saying I could repair the relationship between them if I wanted to. But I was selfish and I wanted Steve all to myself. I told mom that I'm to be a better mother was when Steve was a child. My mom told me that she now views me as dead to her. I told mom she can die mad as far as I'm concerned. Am I the idiot? I'm sorry your mom had an issue with her child reading without being forced to do so. If my mom had gotten rid of all my books, I would have had a mental breakdown because the stories became sentimental. Wow, just wow. I feel so bad for Steve. Good for you for having your brother's back by not disclosing his contact information, or attempting to serve as a bridge for reconciliation. I will never understand the logic of, well, you have to forgive me and let me back into your life, because grandma has a right to know her grandbabies. No mom, you have no right to barge into someone else's happiness in order to hunt for your own. This is why my parents will never meet my youngest, and I hope my oldest won't remember them. I do not need them to see a toxic relationship, and assume that it's normal. You are not the idiot. Protect your brother and his future progeny at all costs. I don't give your mom an in. It will save your future nieces and nephews from trauma and therapy. The nerve to claim they had a right to grandchildren when they were crappy idiot parents, lol. My birth parents signed me off and left to their own lives to now cry and moan that they have no relationship with me or my children. They'll whine to anyone who will listen that they're deprived of their grandchildren. You can't choose to not be a parent, and then get mad when you're not treated as a grandparent. Seriously, mom doesn't want back in Steve's life to know Steve or apologize to him. She wants back for the grandbabies. OP. She would be the mother-in-law from heck, including grandma's baby shower, and my kids turned out fine. You've got Steve's back. You're being a great sibling. So I, 45 male, live in an apartment complex where the walls are basically made of paper. My neighbor, 27 female, let's call her Tanya, has a very active intimate life. And by active I mean every single night at 10 p.m. she and her partner engage in some of the loudest, most over-the-top stuff you can imagine. I'm talking screaming, moaning, thumping, and bed frame squeaking. It's not just occasional, it's a ritual. Like clockwork. Every single day. Now I'm no prude, people are free to live their lives. But this noise is so intense that it rants on my TV, music, and noise-canceling headphones. I've tried knocking on the wall, leaving notes, and even politely mentioning it in passing. But Tanya laughs it off like it's no big deal. We're just having fun, she says. Yeah, okay, but do you need to announce it to the world? After weeks of this, I decided enough was enough. But instead of going to the landlord, I decided to fight noise with noise. I went online and found a playlist of whales mating calls and hooked up my speakers right next to the wall we share. I blast these deep, haunting whale sounds at full volume as soon as their activity begins. Moaning and thumping are still there, but now it's accompanied by the eerie whale sounds. Honestly, it's a surreal experience. I even grew to find these sounds relaxing. The moaning and screaming in the background doesn't bother me that much anymore. I fall asleep easily. Tanya came over the other day looking super angry and asked, "What the heck is that noise? It's creepy and totally messing up our vibe." I calmly told her that I was trying to create a calming atmosphere in my apartment, and that the whale sounds helped me relax. She didn't seem convinced and stormed off. She recently threatened to get the landlord involved though. So, am I the idiot for using whale mating calls to drown out my neighbor's very loud, intimate life? Not the idiot. It's hilarious. I had a similar thing happening when I was a teenager. My next door neighbor would have her boyfriend over after school while her parents weren't home until it's so loud I could hear it across the condo, through 3 rooms. So I would blast the violent fam up against their wall. Wish I had thought of animal mating calls. Another option would be something dramatic like Ride of the Valkyries or 1812 Overture at full volume. Or funny, Like Baby Shark Mary had a little lamb on replay. Honestly, if I was Tanya, I would enjoy Ride of the Valkyries. That's a dare, not an annoyance. Honestly, I would have then aimed the microphone to the PA system towards the wall so their noises would be amplified throughout the neighborhood. Well played, sir. This is so funny, but you should also go have a quick chat with your landlord about this ASAP before your neighbor gets there. Update, she came over and I expected anything but this, to be honest. She said that she won't be involving the landlord anymore since she started to like the whale sounds. Now I'm glad to say that the issue is resolved and we're all satisfied. I can get my good night's sleep with my calming whale sounds, and they can have nice evenings as well. She even brought me chocolate cookies as an extra apology. I have a daughter, a teen female, and she's pretty clumsy. We bought her an iPhone 13 Pro a couple of years ago. She brought hers just months after getting it. Thankfully we had Apple Care and managed to get it repaired. Now she again broke her phone, this time after it accidentally fell off her hand at a friend's house while she was playing a video game. The phone is too badly damaged now. She's now begging for an iPhone 15. Unfortunately, it's no longer covered by insurance, so we must buy a new phone. We just spent a lot of money on a gaming PC, an iPad for her birthday. I don't really want to spend more money on electronics and smartphones for her especially. A new iPhone would cost $1,000. She's also broken it once already and I feel like I'll be rewarding this behavior if I buy her another phone as she still seems to be clumsy. I made a deal with her that if she kept her iPad for a year without breaking it, I'd buy her a new phone the next year. She's now complaining that I'm going too far, that I'm ruining her life, and that she needs an iPhone. She still has a smartphone but she complains about it being slow and having a bad camera. She's currently using her sister's old Redmi Note 11. It's working well but it isn't as cool as her iPhone, but I'm wondering if I should just get her another iPhone, and if I'm going too far with the punishment. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she absolutely needs a phone for something, get her a refurbished one. An iPhone SE or a base level iPhone 15. Or heck, if you have an older phone, get yourself a new one and give her your old one. A young teenager does not need a new iPhone Pro, however. How is she breaking it? This is what I was wondering. She broke it while playing video games. What? Was she on top of a mountain or something and dropped it? How do you break it so bad that it doesn't work while playing video games? I wonder if she dropped it to get the newer model. She probably didn't realize how the phone insurance works or figured her parents would just buy her a new one. Opie, don't buy her a new one and get the real story. I was gonna say, my kid showed me the phone he dropped when he was angry at losing, and there's no way that it was an accident. He paid for his own phone over the next 10 months, including not having a replacement in the first month. You don't get to break $1,000 toys. There are kids going hungry. There's an issue with spoiled, entitled behavior that doesn't sit right. You're the idiot. You've created this monster. Instead of starting your pre-tween self with a family hand-me-down or refurbished older generation phone, you bought her the then current iPhone Pro. This was your mistake. Now you've doled out both a gaming system and an iPad for her birthday. When you make stuff like this magically appear for your kid, they take it for granted that they're entitled to whatever electronics they want. So of course she's not grateful for her sister's old phone. I, female 33, I'm a mother of 2. The other day was my son's birthday. Kindergartner and my husband and I threw a party at our home. The party has caused a rift between me and my husband's twin sister, Eve, 36. Eve and I don't have much in common and usually I only see her during holidays and special occasions. She and my husband are not particularly close either. For context, Eve has 3 kids, a kindergartner and a toddler. A few days before the party, Eve messaged me that she may not go because it would be during her youngest nap time. I told her that her kid was more than welcome to sleep at our home, and that we could put her in our youngest bed. Eve said she would think about it, but that she probably will not come. Eve didn't message me or my husband again, so we assumed she wasn't coming, but she did turn up on the day. 5 minutes after she arrived, she asked if the bed was set up for her youngest, and I explained we weren't expecting them, so I'd need a few minutes to get it ready. Eve asked if we don't keep our kids' bedrooms tidy, which really irritated me. Eve's daughter slept fine. She fussed a bit while waking up, but at least the nap time issue was solved. She saw the cake we had for our son, which was hidden in our kitchen, so he wouldn't see it before it was time to blow out the candles. She said that her kids wouldn't eat that kind of cake. It was lemon cake, if that matters. I know that a lot of kids probably aren't keen on lemon cake, but it's what my son likes. I told Eve that we had some candy in our kitchen that her kids could have so they wouldn't feel left out of having a treat. They ended up leaving abruptly before we got the cake out and only said bye to my husband. They then returned with chocolate cupcakes from the corner shop. Before we'd done cake and candles for my son, they were only gone for maybe 20 or 30 minutes and started serving them to their kids. This caused some of the younger kids at the parties to start fussing because they wanted the cupcakes too, and there wasn't enough to go around. Eve also repeatedly connected her phone to our Bluetooth speakers to play music without asking us when we already had music playing. I asked her to stop because it was just making the house sound like a mishmash of music, and she said that I was being a grump. I guess that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and after the party I told her that the world doesn't revolve around her and her kids. She called me selfish and said that I needed to lighten up. She and her family quickly left. My mother-in-law and father-in-law were still at our house, which made things quite awkward. Eve has been giving my husband the cold shoulder since, and I'm wondering if I'm the idiot. She called you selfish. You? Moo, wow. That's just a spectacular projection right there. She customized your party to her preferences, and was surprised you had a problem with that. You are not the idiot, but your sister-in-law. Wow, I can see why your husband is not close to his sister. Don't even invite them again. Yeah. I think out of everything, buying and sharing insufficient cupcakes and therefore upsetting everyone else's kids at a child's birthday party was particularly egregious out of a list of egregious things. She had to know what would happen. I'm not even a parent, but I am an aunt, and even I know when it comes to goodies you bring enough. Seems like deliberate chaos. What an idiot. Her next party invitation would get lost in the mail for sure. I'm wondering why you were the one who kept trying to contain Eve. Your husband should have been the one to confront her about her constant rudeness, and if he's incapable, you need to let him know she and her kids won't be allowed in your home. You can't help how she acts elsewhere, but at least in your home she needs to be respectful, not the idiot. But your husband needs to man up. My dad and his fiancée Kirsten, both in their late 30s, are getting married in January. Kirsten has 3 kids, all younger than a tween. Dad has me, nearly adult male. My mom died 11 years ago. Kirsten's ex-husband is alive but doesn't play a role in the lives of their kids, except for child support, which is apparently taken from his income because he wasn't paying. Her kids don't remember their dad, so Dad and Kirsten hope Dad will become their new dad. I met Kirsten 4 or 5 months ago and her kids around the same time. And given my age and the fact I did fine with just me and Dad, I'm not looking for Kirsten to fill any sort of maternal or motherly role. I also don't think I'll be engaging with Kirsten's kids as a sibling. This upsets her because she wanted me to be the cool older sibling for them, and someone who might babysit on occasion, but mostly someone who'd make a point to spend time with them. But I'm not planning on spending too much time with them. I have plans for once I turn 18. My dad always knew this. So this is fed into the whole babysitting the kids during the wedding stuff. Kirsten says that since I won't be 18 when they get married, and that I'll still be living with my dad, I should be willing to monitor her kids throughout the wedding. My dad admitted she's hoping it makes me a little more willing to be someone to her kids. I said no when initially asked, and was clear with my no. Kirsten told me it wasn't like I was looking forward to the wedding anyway, so why not agree to babysit? She told me it would give me the chance to bond with her kids. I said no. Dad said he'd pay me to do it if I agreed. But then Kirsten was saying it would be hurtful if I didn't do it as a favor to my growing family. Dad told her it was expecting a little too much. She argued that if I'm there and still living with him, I should be willing, and that I seem so resistant to acting like a sibling that it's incredibly childish. There was some more back and forth about it. Kirsten got really angry when I said again as clearly as I could that I wouldn't babysit during the wedding. Dad said he'd pay for a sitter, but Kirsten said I should really be more willing here. That Dad and I don't have an awful relationship, so why won't I give all this a chance to make the day less expensive and more of a happy memory for everyone? Am I the idiot? Idiot, I'm invited but they want me to babysit during the wedding. Like keep watch over the kids. Kirsten wants me to do it. So she's basically saying that you could come to the wedding, but instead of being there for a special day for your stulse, should you stay and watch her kids? Way not the idiot. You're not obligated to be a built-in babysitter just because they're getting married. I'm just judging Dad's pride for having 3 kids that young, and then having a not-so-great relationship with the ex and expecting you to welcome her with open arms when it's been very obvious that you and Dad have been doing well for the last 11 years on your own without your mom. I don't begrudge your dad for wanting companionship, but someone with 3 kids underage is a handful. Kirsten is entitled, but your dad is delusional. My dad admitted she's hoping it makes me a little more willing to be someone to her kids. LO really? I'm quite sure that babysitting 3 children that age during a stressful, long and exhausting formal event would make you even less willing to be someone to her kids. You should judge her. Everything in here screams that she is just marrying the dad to leech off him, and she thinks she can do it to you too. If the dad is that desperate, that's not your problem.